The integrated behavior model is a further development of theory of planned behavior, which still aims to explain and predict intention better than behavior. The IBM has only been tested as a whole in a few scientific studies, but the four factors that influence behaviors have a great deal of research behind them. If you look at the integrated behavioral model, you will see that this first part here is the same as the TPB, the theory of planned behavior, and that's because the integrated behavioral model is a further development of the theory of planned behavior. Now, if we look at the four factors that you see over here, first we have knowledge and skills to perform the behavior, then we have salience of the behavior, then we have environmental constraints, and last but not least, habits. These four factors have an influence on the behavior itself, and they don't directly link to the intention, but they still play a part in whether you will carry out the behavior or not. If we take the first factor, knowledge and skills to perform the behavior, this kind of explains that to what extent do you have the required knowledge and skills to perform the new behavior that you would like to carry out. So if we take that as an example and you would like to live a more healthy lifestyle, do you have the knowledge and skills to know what a healthy lifestyle is? If we look at the second factor, salience of the behavior, that means to what extent do you remember to carry out the specific behavior when you're in that specific situation? So, for example, if you're at the supermarket and you've promised yourself to buy brown rice instead of white rice, do you actually remember when your arm reaches out to grab the white rice on the shelf? Do you remember to think, "Oh wait, I need to buy the brown rice"? Like, is the behavior present in your mind when shopping? If we look at the third factor called environmental constraints, this one states that what practical barriers are there in your environment that stop you from doing the behavior, even though you're really motivated? Now, environmental constraints and perceived control, oh, that was a funny one, but they're not the same. So environmental constraints are actual physical and practical barriers that are in the way, whereas perceived control can be something that you perceive to be a barrier. It is subjective to you, and the perceived control can both be facilitators that help you carry out the behavior or stand in the way of carrying the behavior, whereas environmental constraints is an actual physical thing. It is not subjective. When looking at the last factor, habit, habit looks at to what extent has the new behavior that you would like to carry out, has that become a habit, or to what extent is the habit that you would like to get rid of become a habit? Now, in order to get rid of habits, you need to use habit strategies, which we'll not be discussing, but it's more difficult to get rid of a behavior or integrate a new behavior if the past behavior is a habit or if the new behavior is not yet a habit. As I mentioned in the theory of planned behavior model, these factors can mean that even though you're really motivated to do the behavior, you might not carry it out. And again, this is not because you're lazy or you're unmotivated or not skilled or good enough. It just means that there are factors influencing either your intention to carry out the behavior or the carrying out of the behavior itself. Now, you can use these diagrams like the TPB or the IBM to identify factors and areas where you might be lacking or where you feel like there's a barrier in the way, and you can kind of meddle with the things and try to make them work to your advantage. But as always, if you're struggling, it's okay. It's supposed to be hard, and you can look up some resources or seek help from a nutritionist or a psychological um, expert or whatever you would call them, but someone who um, has experience in this sort of subject and using these models in behavioral change. Thank you so much for watching. In the next video, we'll be covering self-efficacy. Self-efficacy gets covered a lot in behavioral change behavioral change theories and psychological theories. So I really recommend to watch that as well, since it can help you lead your journey towards behavioral change. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye bye.